Hello farmers and aspiring farmers, thank you for taking your time to tune in to yet another informative edition of your program. This is Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030. This is where we discuss everything agriculture. It is a platform that was specifically created for our farming community here in Zimbabwe, the various stakeholders including the government, those who are responsible for coming up with policies and even frameworks so that as a country we follow. You would find that as Zimbabweans generally, most of our population makes a living off of agricultural ventures. We are talking approximately of 67% of the people here in Zimbabwe making a living out of agricultural enterprises. Today we are coming to you from Banket in Mashonaland West at Farm, where they are undertaking commercial sugar beans production. The reason why we are having this episode is because most of our Zimbabwean farmers have been shying away from producing sugar beans. But here we have an example, a very good example, where we are seeing an endless sea, an endless field of sugar beans that is being produced here at Kombe Farm. To discuss this and more, I've taken the liberty of inviting Tawanda Pasi. He is working here with his parents, undertaking agriculture as a formidable business. Tawanda, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for the opportunity.
Now, Tawanda, you would find that commercial sugar beans production, most of our Zimbabwean farmers are not interested. Havasi kunyatsofara, haasi mapurazi akawanda tiri kuona kuri kurimwa sugar beans. Tichipinda muchirongwa, ndezvipi zvaungataure zvingave ari machallenges kana macauses ekuti vanhu vakawanda vasiyane nekurima sugar beans vafunge zvimwe zvirimwa?
Okay, first of all, zvinotangira pago. Like farmer wese, at the end of the day, when the market you need some money.
Yes.
Kutudzokechi
kumunda.
So it doesn't make sense for me kuti ndidyare chirimwa chisingazondidzose mari yangu at the end of the day. So as you can see, most of the farmers challenge inozouya pakuti zvinogona kutangira pamvura, anenge asina mvura yakakwana. As sugar beans ire leguminous crop, it also needs more water than one, because if you look at it generally, it's that everything is just water in it. Yeah. So from that total mvura, then the second thing is seed. When you go buy seed yako like the germination purity is so low, but it's just look like sugar beans. It's ungodya dzemudura dzangofanana, but kana isina kutestwa for the purity, you wouldn't know until wadyara, until wazwana futi yield. Yeah, so it's generally it's something jekuti tinokurudzira mafarmers ese kuti kana uchinge wafunga zvekurima, just go buy your seed to my seed houses ari kuzikanwa chaiwo chaiwo.
Okay,
exactly, that's the second point. Then the third, pama irrigation schemes evanhu vazhinji pakuzoirrigata pakudiridza chirimwa chedu vanokanganwa kuti as a leguminous crop inozoproduce maflowers, so those flowers are so important patiri because ndiye anozokwanisa kuti atibuditsire our pods vana. Yeah, exactly. So these pods ndo patinowana the yield yacho. Exactly. So ukadiridza too much iri flowering stage, you lose a lot of flowers. Yeah. No, so that's the other problem inozowanika. Then my regimes sprays, we need to spray frequently because in the generate futi chikafu. So my sprays anodiwa zvakanyanyisa kuti tiwane yield inenge favorable. Exactly. Right.
Panapa pa Farm Tawanda, variety wataura iwewe kuti vanhu at times vanopesera vakutenga seed kwa vasingazisina testwa for purity, meaning kuti you do understand the variety that you have here. Panapa variety yamakashandisa ndeipi kutanga? Kechipiri I understand mune various blocks sugar beans. Kune kwatapinda kudhuze nekumba, kune kudhuze nekukomboni, nekunoku kwatiri. Meaning kuti soil types akatosiyana siyana. Meaning kuti even kuisa kwenyu mvura kunenge kwakatosiyana siyana. Saka zvakamira sei in terms of the variety yamakashandisa gore rino, uye soil types amuri kurimira sugar beans akamira sei various blocks aminawo?
Okay, starting with the variety, this is a seed sugar beans. Okay. So it's called Ukulinga. It's a high yielding crop as compared to my varieties I taita way back. This is actually yielding more, and we seeing even by grading at this one my challenges. Then when it comes to my soil types, yeah, my blocks akasiyana kumwe ma sandy loam, my clays, kuna ma sandies. So analysis wise, that's why we start with soil analysis. Yes. So now what is soil ready to first. Then I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tichipinda panyaya iyoyi yana soil testing, soil analysis zvichienda zvakadaro. Zvichida pano fertilizers amakashandisa kubva yepasi kuenda pane yepamusoro, pamwe makauya futi nema-supplements. Zvichida mune ma-supplements amaizodira mazuva anaya kwaane ma-foliar fertilizers. Zvanga zvakamira sei, maizvifambisa sei, uye pahectare zvichida maishandisa zvipi, mabhegi mangani, eye pasi, top dressing zvakamira sei?
Okay, I'll start with our fertilizer regimes. They will depend on soil analysis. With the last crop, you demand a fertilizer. So you can actually supplement nitrogen. You can actually supplement potash. So it depends on which crop it knows at the end of the day.
Yes.
So generally, I think land sugar beans, we used approximately 100 to 125 kgs per hectare for basal, same as
top dressing.
Because the sugar beans, it doesn't require much AN. So it's much nitrogen because ikava very vegetative,
inenge iri green ichinakidza kutarisa but maruva pasina. Thank you so much, Tawanda, for such a detailed presentation. On that note, we also have come to the end of the first segment where we are looking at sugar bean production here at Kombe Farm. Tawanda was telling us it is seed sugar bean production, not our commercial one. They are working with various companies to ensure that they are profitable in their ventures. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the second segment. Stay tuned. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness, in support of Vision 2030. Today, we are looking at seed sugar bean production. We do have farmers who also get into commercial sugar bean production, but the case today at Kombe Farm is seed sugar bean production. Well, now, if you also encourage you to be a part of these conversations, feel free to get in touch with the producer, Wadzanai Manyore, so 0772-807-506. Alternatively, you can like our Facebook page, Agribusiness with Wadzanai, make a follow-up on this episode and more, and leave your comments and suggestions. They are most welcome to us. Our YouTube channel is Agribusiness with Wadzanai. We are also now available on X, formerly known as Twitter, where most of these discussions do take place. It's at Agribusiness 110. Now, earlier on for the break, Tawanda here was enlightening us in terms of nitrogen application, where he was saying our sugar bean do not necessarily need that much of AN or nitrogen, because at the end of the day, you are just promoting vegetative growth whilst compromising on the yield. Tawanda, we are here in the second segment. Welcome back.
Thank you, Waza.
Patauya panapa ndiri kuona kuti muri munguva yeharvesting. Pane dzimwe sugar beans andatoona dzimwe dzamamushitopura kwatatanga kwatasvikira uku. Zvichida ndikada kuti taure nema-days to maturity. Sugar beans dzakadyarwa rini, mwedzi upi, uye ma-days mangani kuti musvike pakukohwa. Uye ndezvipi zvamunotarisa iwewe sezvo uri kushanda panapa nababa wako kuona kuti iyi sugar beans ngatichibudise mumunda iyi. Yagara mumunda yakuita kuti harvest. Ngatitaure maererano neharvesting.
Yes, then starting from days to maturity per crop yedu, sugar beans generally is from 85 to 115 days to maturity, but this variety ukulinga, it matures around 90 days. So the reason why we had to plant this crop, we had to bridge tichitry kuita crop rotation from tobacco, tichibridge ne sugar beans, then tichibudemo we going back to summer tobacco. You see,
yeah, could meet a rotation iri proper.
Exactly. Then when it comes to harvesting and grading, sugar beans, it's a crop very cumbersome when it comes to harvesting. Harvesters are ripo, but you see, kana iri seed haichadiwi yakatsemuka.
Exactly.
So you have to do it nemaoko moto
uchinyatsowa careful.
Uchinyatsowa careful. So tinotodzura line by line tichita mahips, line by line tichita mahips. Then tunozoungana as a group sevashandi tese tungodividana manumbers. Uyu 4 men otora group rake oenda pa 4 men otora group rake oenda. Then tapura tochisarudza taenda, so which means aba munenge mune a mixed bag of everything. Nema watermarks dzakanaka dzakaura, so you need to grade as well.
Okay.
Because you can't plant
seed ine dzimwe dzakaora dzimwe dzakatsemuka.
You see.
Exactly.
So we have to take our seed grading shed tozoenda grading shed then utopanana futi ma-consignments uyu forman nevanhu vake forman nevanhu vake
okay.
Then we have to grade dzakanaka tobvisa dzine watermarks dzine dzakaura vamwe they like dzacho dzine ma-watermarks because dzinomera but at the end of the day
dziri compromised
payield futi tinokuta kudzokera back panyaya yedu.
Okay, now tawanda pakukohwewa apa pane mamwe malosses anotoitika zvichida magona pakuisa fertilizer makagona kudiridzira pakukohwa pane dzimwe beans dzinotongosara mumunda dzozotomera ava mavolunteer weeds vamwe maisa fodya muri kuona mumunda mefodya makazara beans kuita kunge marima beans ndiyeti mamaisa fodya zvichida ndingada kunditaure panyaya yemalosses muri kuzvifambisa sei panapa kuensure kuti munda kana muri kuti makohwa beans zveshuwa beans dzese dzabuda.
What we're making sure hatikwanisi kudzitora tongodziunganidza tikadziunganidza obviously nenyaya kuti dzaoma kudhara because of the temperatures ziri kunze they shatter.
Exactly.
So we make sure kuti patinodzitora todzisa pamatents tozitora toisa pamatents kuti whenever even dzakashata dzese dzinongosipilla off to matents.
Yes.
But obviously whatever crop there is always a percentage
loss.
And theft as well. So you see, loss is okay, but we just try to minimize.
Okay, but my losses apa tawanda, just off camera we were speaking of theft. Beans dziri kunyanya obiwa dzaoma here kana kuti dziri nyoro vanhu vari kuzvakamira sei?
Yeah, you see, tukubva nguva yenzara. It was a drought season. Yeah, we tinongodzwisisa kuti vanhu vanenge vane nzara, but we just try by all means
to minimize
because munhu anenge achisvaga uchi kusavi breakfast lunch so we just try to just minimize.
Okay.
But at the same time kuno tinozoti tapedza kana pazosarawo ma-extras like dzimwe dzecho dzine dzakarohwa namawatermarks we just share.
Okay. Kuti avaonawo bucket avaonawo gallon.
So munhu anenge achingoziva kuti at the end of the day ndinechi
chandishawana. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
It's just a measure to minimize. Yeah.
Now tawanda tichitaura izvo panyaya yema-expected yield per hectare. Tanzwa isusu patatotanga kuti most of our Zimbabwean farmers havadi kupinda munyaya dzesugar beans because mumwe akashanda anowana half a ton per hectare. Mumwe anotowana 0.8 tons per hectare. Meaning kuti my yields it's a game of numbers. The more tonnage or the more tons you get, the more money you make kana waenda kumarket. Saka pakamira panyaya yield panapa maane nguva muchirima beans. Pagore per season on a good season yield yenyu inenge yakamira sei?
Yeah, depending on the variety as well, depending with your practices as well at your farm will result in the variety in your yield.
Yes. So
probably it's our average yield now it's standing around 2 to 2.2. Yeah, 2.3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's achievable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. As we close this segment, Tawanda, ningada kuti taure nezvenyaya ye-plant population kuti iro hectare kune munhu pamwe arida kuita hectare. Munombopinda ma-kg mangani, masaga rakakura zvakadii rembewu raangashandisa pa 1 hectare. Uye plant population yacho yakamirawo zvayo sei roughly just ma-rough estimates vanhu vanosiyanisa panyaya dze-spacing according to soil type nenzvimbo yavanenge vari.
Yeah. Depending on my yields and target, a plant population sugar beans usually runs to 220,000 plants per hectare.
Yeah.
So you will be working towards your spacings, which you wanna, because you crowd them, then they won't
produce as much
as yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much Tawanda for that. Mukupendera mashoko ongada kutaurawo kune vakatarira chirongwa vanga vakati aisu sugar beans takatosiya. Vamwe vatonekana kuma 5 years avatozivi kuri masugar beans vanotongotenga kana vari kunobika. Maererano nekurimwa kwesugar beans, mashoko ako ekurudziro, you are a young farmer, you are a youthful guy who's working with his parents pakuproducwa kwesugar beans. Mashoko ekurudziro pakuti varimi vadzoke mukurimwa beans muriwo ine protein component yatotaura nezvayo yapanyaya ye-food and nutrition cluster. Mashoko ekurudziro in terms of kurimwa kwesugar beans.
Yeah, first of all, I will say to everyone, never lose hope. When you start something, just keep on doing it. Yeah, you can fall 7 times, but you should
still rise.
So, as a point to note for every farmer, sugar beans it's a much high paying crop. You can yield from 2 tons wire per hectare, but you getting a price of 1.2, 1.5 per ton zvinokavirana at the end of the day. And looking at my inputs awakaisa unozongoona kuti unenge uri
pari nani. Thank you so much, Tawanda, for taking your time to come on Agribusiness and educate our Zimbabwean farmers in terms of producing seed sugar beans. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you. What's up?
There you heard it, viewers. We're looking at seed sugar bean production here at Kombe Farm in Banket. We're going to go on a short commercial break. We'll be right back with this and more in the third and final segment. Stay tuned. Hello farmers, thank you for staying tuned to Agricultural New Directions, Agribusiness in support of Vision 2030. We are here in the third and final segment of your program. We are here at Kombe Farm in Banket, Mashonaland West, where we are looking at seed sugar bean production. Now earlier on from the break, I was joined by Tawanda Pasi. He was educating us on what the strategies and even tactics they employed to ensure that they do succeed within their cropping venture of sugar bean production. Most of our Zimbabwean farmers are shying away from producing sugar beans, let alone the seed sugar bean crop. Now we are here in the third and final segment. I am joined by Liz, who's working with NutriMaster in terms of crop nutrition and crop protection. Liz, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Wadza.
Yes, as we get into our discussion, Liz, can you maybe highlight the crop nutrition, the essentials that are required when it comes to sugar bean production, be it seed, be it commercial? What are the nutrients that are required or the prerequisites of those nutrients that are loved by the sugar bean crop?
So NPK will always be there, so that's the basis. But I think what I need to emphasize for sugar bean production is that there has to be what we call inherent soil fertility. To say the land has to be fertile on its own before you even apply fertilizers. Unfortunately, beans, or fortunately, I don't know if you say unfortunately or fortunately, they enjoy soils that are already fertile. Then you come in with the fertilizer to aid that. So it's important when you're selecting your lands to say, well, this is the most fertile land. You'd rather allocate it to sugar bean production, because if it's fertile, it's likely to give you the highest possible yield. And then in terms of other nutrients that are important, the likes of calcium, because your pods, as they're setting, they need a bit of calcium as well. So depending on your soil test, if you can add a bit of gypsum, it's also something that will help you to be able to get the highest possible yields. But the most important thing that we always say, soil test, and then we'll recommend the fertilizers that are required.
Okay, now Liz, I want us to focus and zero in on crop protection. For starters, I want us to look at the active ingredients or chemicals that are used or applied when it comes to dealing with certain insect pests and diseases, and even some of the fungicides that you come in within your sugar bean crop. What are we looking at?
Okay, so in terms of pests, I think one of the big ones is bean stem maggot. And so there's a number of options that are in the market. There's Apron Star, which you can apply as a seed dressing, depending on where you are getting the seed from. Then there's also you can also use the likes of Desnon. It's a very old molecule. It's been around for a while. You can also use it to deal with that. Then there's also things like bowworms, you know, the thrips, the smaller sucking pests. You can use a combination of acetamiprid and emamectin, things like Optimeta. You can use emamectin duo, which is emamectin and lufenuron. You can use anything that will cater for that what do you call it, the worm complex, and then the sucking pest. So there are a number of options that are in the market, but what the farmer needs to just do is to find the most effective for the stage of where you actually see the pest in the lands.
Okay, looking at some of the issues when it comes to crop production, whenever there is irrigation, there comes in your weeds, there comes in your diseases. Can you talk to us in terms of those active ingredients within chemicals that are essential when it comes to eradicating or dealing with the weeds, which are mostly a menace? They can be a breeding ground for insect pests, for diseases. They can even eat into the fertilizer that you are putting in, targeting the growth and the pods that you are looking at your beans. What are we looking at when it comes to herbicide usage and management?
Indeed, Wadza, that's a very critical part, especially with sugar bean production, because then when you're harvesting, if there's too many weeds, that's already a problem in terms of how you actually do it in the execution. So you need to keep your lands clean. I can see here this farmer has done a really good job because the land is looking clean. There are a number of options, obviously, in the market. You can start with your pre-emergence. So before pre-planting, you use glyphosate, you can use Roundup. There are a number of formulations available. It can be a powder, it can be a liquid. And then pre-planting, or at planting, pre-emergence rather, you can use your Dual Magnum or S-metolachlor. That's the active ingredient. Or anything with S-metolachlor could be used as a pre-emergence herbicide here.
Okay.
And then post-emergence, depending on what you're wanting to use, there is Basagran, the active ingredient being Bendazone. The Bendazone is there for the broadleaf weeds. And then if you want to target grasses, there's Fusilade Forte or Fluazephob or Propaquizaphob, which can be known as Agile or Slasher, depending on who is selling. The trade names are...
there are a lot of them.
But definitely those are the basics. You want to deal with your broadleaf, you want to deal with your grasses, those are your chemicals. And then maybe when we talk of the disease complex, like you said, we've got a number, the rust, you need to take care of rust, you need to ensure that it's clean. So that's when you want to come in with a combination product. One of my favorite being an Azoxy and a difenoconazole, which is a combination. Optistrobi is quite good with that to take care of your disease complex, your rust, and then you ensure that your crop is clean up to the end. Because if the crop is not clean, like he rightfully said earlier, if the leaves are not taken care of, now the yield is being lost. So spraying fungicides is actually very critical. I think that's one of the reasons why you find that we plant our sugar beans towards the end of the rainy season, because if there's too much rain as well, it's not good for the sugar bean crop. And one of the reasons why that is also the disease complex is too intense when the water is too much.
Okay, now Liz, as we close this segment, this episode, I want us to look at how you can control or how you can protect Gora Vamumunda. It's not every farmer who harvests and sends to the market. Mumwe arida kumborida kuona kuti zvakamira sei, vati vari kudzida here, mumwe arida kuchengeta kuti pachazonetsa muriwo paya obva aenda nadzo kumbare, obva azoenda nadzo kuma boarding schools. So in terms of protecting your grain, your sugar bean grain, what are some of the chemicals that you use that are there on the market that farmers can take advantage of so that they protect their grain? Pane nguva inotoshaika muriwo vanhu vachitoda beans, vanhu vachidya beans for breakfast, etc. Even in boarding schools, in hospitals, in preschools, etc. We are looking at the protein component, which is critical and essential when it comes to the population of our country. Can you talk to us in terms of ways, means and ways in which a Zimbabwean farmer can protect his harvest, go rake, yield yake, arida kuichengeta ahead of marketing?
So post-harvest losses are actually quite critical, not just in sugar beans, but in any crop, because you find that we don't zero in enough on that, because you might actually lose the yield at the end. So hermetic storage, you can use their containers that are available, where you can put the bean in there, or whatever, the grain, and then seal it. By sealing it completely, then there is no, it's airtight, and then that way it's stored, and then there is no infestation. And the most important thing as well is when you are harvesting, you are supposed to harvest on time.
Yes.
Because at times, by the time, if you harvest late, there's already infestation of
weevils.
Of weevils, exactly. So then you find that even when you then start treating, it's too late. So you want to harvest on time, and then you treat the grain or whatever while it's still clean, so that the chemical can actually do its job. And then in terms of the actives, there's primifos methyl, thiamethoxam, there's Actelic gold dust. I think it's a very popular one. There's Ngwenayodura Plus, it's also a very popular one. So in terms of there are so many options for the Zimbabwe. And I think in terms of that grain protectant, it's almost everywhere in the country. So no matter where a farmer is, big or small, they always have access to the grain protectant.
Thank you so much, Liz, for taking your time and coming to with us here in Banket, where we're looking at one of the crops that most of our Zimbabwean farmers tend to be shying away from. Not many farmers are producing sugar beans, not even on a commercial basis, or even in the backyard. There is a bit of maybe some resistance when it comes to this production. But today we are looking at strategies in which a farmer can employ to ensure that at the end of the day they are successful, they are sustainable, they are profitable within their sugar bean crop venture. It was a pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. From me, your host was Zanema Nyira. I'm also on Instagram. It's at Wadzi110. And the crew behind the scenes. Have yourselves a fabulous evening. Thank you for watching.